Welcome back, everybody. This is Bryan and Ms. Berlin for Breaking Down Security.
Hey, hey.
Hey. Yeah, Mr. Betcher, he said he was out of town. He's having dinner with his family somewhere in the Austin area. So he will either join us a little bit later or we'll catch up with him next week. So, how you been doing, Ms. Berlin?
Good. Busy.
Yeah?
Yeah.
You having issues with high winds apparently in your area?
Yeah, it sounds like my house is going to blow away right now. Yeah. So I'm really close to Lake Erie, and we have like this bridge that goes over the one bay.
Right.
And there's a picture earlier of the semi truck that had just blown all the way over.
Yeah. Wow.
So the wind is insane right now.
They didn't close the bridge to high profile vehicles or anything?
You can't.
Why not?
Well, you could, but then there'd just be like backed up traffic because there's no easy way to get around.
I see. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's a safety issue, but you know.
Yeah. They advised no semis on the Ohio Turnpike.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was. I drove one place today, and it was pretty crazy.
Wow. Yeah. But the problem is, if they had told semis to stay off the bridge, they wouldn't have to close the entire bridge now to clear a semi that had tipped over. Did it go into the water, or did it just block all the lanes of traffic?
It went onto the median.
Oh. Like
tipped over onto the median thing.
Oh, that's not good. So not good. Yeah, we have wind issues up here in the fall. We'll get winds funneling through the Snoqualmie Valley, and that causes all kinds of issues. And they talk about high profile vehicles not going slowly or reducing your speed and that kind of stuff. So
how was your awesome trip to NOLA?
It was very good. One thing I learned that the natives who live there don't like it to be called Nolans. It's NOLA or New Orleans. No, they
shouldn't call it NOLACon because that's
well, no, they're somewhat cool with NOLA. It's the it's when people come in and they're like, "Oh, I'm in Nolans now." I'm like, no, they don't like that. Got a lot of history. They definitely didn't cover up the fact that there were slaves on plantations. We saw two of them. One called Laura, which was a Creole plantation, which had a really colorful kind of main house. And then the other one was a more traditional looking with the white, the completely white house with the pillars of,
right.
Greek and Doric columns and such. Did not cover that up. Did not memory hole that at all. They owned up to it. Yeah. So it was a very interesting tours of those areas. Excuse me. So right after I got back, which was Friday afternoon or Friday evening, I had to turn right around and go to Bsides Seattle, and a lot of solid talks were there this week. What are you looking at?
Sorry, there's a spider on my Wi-Fi thingy.
Oh. Well,
it's freaking me out a little bit. So.
Maybe it's trying to get a signal or something. Maybe you should give it the password and let it go on.
I'm going to squish it here in a minute.
Man, it's just trying to live.
No. My desk is right next to my bed. I don't want spiders in my bedroom.
Oh, well, is it a little bitty one? What does it look like?
It's like one of those little jumping ones.
Jumping one. Okay, kill it with fire. Just right? Yeah, jumping ones. No,
I don't mind spiders. Like if I wasn't doing anything, I would take it and like make my kid take it outside. But
right, okay,
fly away. But
yeah, all right. Well, yeah, kill it with fire and destroy it with impunity and don't look back. So
you just talk about B-sides. I'm going to put myself on mute and kill this.
Okay, all right. So I did something that I haven't done at the last couple of conferences. I actually went to the talks. There were several solid talks there. Unfortunately, because they had to move the initial conference from the 9th to the 23rd because of weather, they actually had one cancellation, which was Miss Mandy, who spoke at DerbyCon at the mental health hackers village. I'm laughing because I can see Ms. Berlin. She can still hear me. She's
I also just spilled iced tea all over my laptop and my desk.
You are the worst exterminator ever.
The spider hasn't moved, though.
Well, he's like, come at me, bro.
He's laughing at me.
Yeah, you squaring up against me, bro. You gonna fight me? Yeah. Anyway, Ms. Mandy, she was unable to come and give her talk after lunch on biohacking and how she hacked her way back to consciousness. But that talk, I believe, was also given at DerbyCon last year, so or a version of it. So if you're interested and missed it at Bsides Seattle, then we'll put a link in the show notes to that link as well.
Hers wasn't recorded though.
Her talk at Derby wasn't recorded. I thought she talked also at the Mental Health Hacker Village and on a track.
I think she just did ours.
Oh, okay. Well, that's unfortunate. I'll have to try to find and see if somebody's done a recording of her talking somewhere else. So yeah, there was a lot of good talks. There was somebody from Google. He goes by the name of Ace. Cool Shrethsha. Oh, crap. Anyway, classifying and protecting sensitive data at scale. Let's see. Alex Ivkin talking about containers, backdoors, windows, elevators. He was talking about the different types of containers. We're trying to get him on because I was interested in hearing that Windows now has containers, which I didn't know. And there's some limitations to it on setting those up, but he talked about various things that called foot guns in this case, which are things that will shoot you in the foot, about, running Docker with like shared spaces, or having the ability to load kernel modules, which will also load kernel modules to your main stuff or to your main system. And there were some additional things he did about Docker in the registries, doing things like security opt or dash security opt, no new privileges. So, there's some other new switches there that I didn't know about. Talked about going distroless. Apparently Google is rolling their own distro for all intents and purposes. And like once you install all the applications using apt or yum or whatever it is your favorite package manager is, you actually uninstall that. So it's one less tool that hackers will have to be able to attempt to install things. One of the best practices, they also talk about things like, not, having GCC or in many cases in your containers and things. So one of the better and more solid talks that I thought was one that everybody should have attended was Mr. Dr. Noid. I call him the Mr. Dr. Noid. He called it. What's that?
I think you have to pick one.
Okay, Dr. Noid is Dr. Noid. It's not a bug, it's a feature. And he was talking about how security people and how people are motivated differently, not just security people, but developers. And, he was talking about some of the stories that he had to deal with because he started on a security team at a company and then moved over to the development side. And he realized that once he got on the development side that security people were not doing things that they don't speak the same language. They don't have the same goals. And, security people need to understand that, your language, often doesn't exactly equal what it should. So, he said, call security work feature development instead of, security fix, because when they think of security fixes, they think of bug fixes. So there's a lot of other things on there. He talked about open communications and security should find ways to reduce complexity, increase efficiency, and automation. So I've reached out to Dr. Noid and see if we could get him on the show to talk about this, but it was really, really great talk about, how the disconnect from the security side is often that it's a language issue. It's a language barrier in many cases. So Zach Rubel, living off the WAN, he actually, this guy, he is a solid dude. He's going to the University of Washington at Bothell, and he was talking about using public web apps for C2 infrastructure. So he set up a infrastructure, command and control infrastructure for botnet that he was working on that used things like you could put a post in Reddit on a certain Reddit a subreddit in this case, and Google will index that. So you could do a Google search to look for that and parse out the results and use that as part of your command and control sequence. And then there was some other bits there. And he was also using Slack as a C2 as well. So
wow.
Very interesting talk. I sent him an email as well to see if he could come on. He's a student up here, but first talk ever he'd ever given at a conference. And it sounded like he was a seasoned veteran. I mean, very, very natural speaker.
Awesome.
Yeah. Excellent discussion. A lot of the questions that came after were not questions more like, well, you could have done it like this, or you could have done it like that. And I'm like,
I hate that.
I know.
Oh, I hate that.
I know.
So much.
And I'm like, look, dudes, keep your comments under a tweet and, actually have a question. So,
yep.
That was the only thing that really bothered me about the talk. It wasn't him. He was solid, but it was just some of the people were like, oh, you could have done blah, blah, blah. And he's like, oh, yeah, I didn't think about that. Or one guy said, oh, yeah, you could use an S3 bucket. And we're like, yeah, but,
Yeah, seriously, if you're listening to this, never do that to a speaker.
Yeah. And
it is one, even sitting watching people, it is one of my biggest pet peeves is just listening to people that want to hear themselves talk.
Yep.
If you wanted to talk about that, you get up on stage and give a presentation.
Yeah.
If you have a short question that is a sentence or two, that's great.
Yeah.
Oh, that kills me.
Yeah. Yeah. You could tell after a few of the questions, he was feeling a little defensive. Like he was like, oh, he like, oh yeah, I should have done that. And I felt for him. So I went up and told him he did an awesome job. And, so that was a really great talk too. That was probably my number 2 talk. Terry Radical, because I phonetically pronounce it Radical. Yeah. Top priorities for cloud apps. She talked about, inline security scanning, talked about things like Sonatype, JFrog, maybe not, checking code only in source control, no binaries, trying to find, using dependency check and tooling to, help, secure anything that you've got going on in your environment. So, I'd like to have her on too, but she's CEO of a company, so I don't know if that's going to happen or not. She mentioned a couple of security test things called WATIR, WATIR, and Catalan. I don't know if anybody's used those. AWS Inspector. And apparently when you're doing CI/CD pipeline stuff, your deployment logs can actually be ingested into Splunk so that it can look for things that are out of the ordinary. Like if you're calling things with passwords or, key values or something, those are getting passed all over your network, and your Splunk logs can actually allow you to inspect those for potential, additional vulnerabilities or something like that. So that was an interesting talk as well. So, the last one, Cody Thomas, it's under ITS_A_feature_ works at Spectre Ops. And he was talking about red teaming, using a tool called APFEL, APFELL. It's another C2. It's a post-exploitation framework that allows for multiple people to do things. You can create stagers. You can use things like OSA script, which is inherent in OS X. It's assigned binary, so it doesn't normally light off as bad to endpoint security tools. Much like, well, not like PowerShell. People are detecting PowerShell now, PowerShell use, but OSA script is used in a lot of automation formats, so it tends to fly under the radar a little bit on OS X. So he has a GitHub where that's at. And I'll put a link in the show notes to that. But yeah, he was talking about a number of different things, including things like Orchard, which is Active Directory Recon on OS X, Bashfuscator, which is a way of obfuscating any bash scripts that you want to run in your environment. So that was a good number 3. I don't use it a lot, but it's definitely something that if we did testing against Mac OS, or he wants to add things like Python too, so eventually, or Python as well, not Python 2. But yeah, it's pretty good. Definitely check that out. But yeah, all the talks were really solid this year. I don't normally actually go. I may actually do that next year or this year when we would go to DerbyCon if I get a ticket. Actually, go some of the talks. Weird. I haven't done that like the last 2 years I was there. So
Yeah, I couldn't last year, but and I probably won't this year.
Yeah.
But what I usually do is I will go through the schedule and select the ones that I want to watch afterwards.
Right. Well, I keep telling myself I'm going to do that, and then I never do it. And I think I lose a lot on that. So if I pick, if I can pick at least 5 or 6, over the course of a couple days, and that also gives me a chance to take notes, which I've never done before. That was interesting. And I think I retained a bit more than if I had just been sitting there dumbly watching the slides slide by.
Right.
So it was helpful. I wasn't the only one taking notes, so it was good. So, we have a couple of news stories, and we're gonna use those to kind of bounce off onto other things. So there's a new phishing technique. So those of you who are blue team, who are worried about phishing in your environment, there's a new technique to bypass email filters. So and
there's nothing you can do about it.
Is there?
Except switch to a different solution.
Did you? So you read it. You understand what's going on here.
Yeah, I mean, it says which ones have that vulnerability, like which email filtering platforms. So it said Exchange Online Protection, Proofpoint, and F-Secure are all vulnerable. Mm-hmm. But the Microsoft ATP isn't, and a couple other ones. But that ATP has been pretty sweet from everything that I've seen. Yeah.
And so for those of you who don't know, the Office, Microsoft Office formats, the docx, the XLSX, and the PPTX are actually just a bunch of XML files that are put together, much like a package, like a zip file, if you will. Actually, I think that's probably, it's some kind of, tarred format where there's a bunch of files inside. And, so there is a file in there called xml.rels, and what that is I don't know, how do I explain it? It's like the table of contents in a book. So it tells you the links that are available in the document, and if there's any links that reference things outside of the document or out on the internet, there's a link in this xml.rels, but it's also inside the document itself. So if you put in a footnote, for instance, on a document, you're going to put a link to, say, a Wikipedia article. And what that does is then it adds this link inside of this xml.rels, RELS file. And the bad thing is that people who are sending fishes, in this case, with attachments, are deleting this xml.rels file, which you would think that would make the Office document corrupted in some way, but it doesn't. So yeah, so and it only adds to the misery that your email checkers, like what Miss Berlin said, that F-Secure, Proofpoint, and Exchange Online Protection EOP just look at this XML.rels file instead of looking through and parsing the whole document. So
yeah, I wish I wish it had to be in there for it to work.
Right. You would think it has to all be there for it to work, but I guess because of
the actual hyperlink to take effect, it has to be in Rels, but right. I guess not.
It seems like, I guess for backwards compatibility, you don't necessarily have to have that. So, but yeah, so these email scanning things, these email scanning systems are just basically looking at the table of contents instead of the whole document. So you can delete that, still have malicious links inside of your document, and it'll fail open. It'll fail as good because there's no XML.rels file, so we're just going to go ahead and pass it through. I'm assuming, and I'm hoping,
like a lazy way out.
Yeah, and what I'm hoping is that is the default setting. So F-Secure will, if you want it, there must be a setting inside of these to go, okay, well, actually do real scanning or scan the whole document or all the contents of the document, not just, the easy way. The default is just look at that file. The non-default would be to look at the whole document. I'm hoping that that's the case. Mm-hmm. If anybody has any thoughts on that, just, hit us up on Twitter and just say, hey, yeah, that's the case. So, yeah, but, yeah, I mean, if you're doing any kind of phishing or anything like that, they're until they issue a fix, or if this is something that's just configuration change, you might be able to get around the email scanning. So another thing that I've always found is fun about email scanning is if you zip encrypt the attachment, most file scanning systems will just pass it through because, it must be secure because it's encrypted. Does that surprise you?
That's a bad choice, but no.
Well, I mean,
nothing surprises me anymore.
You can't fail closed. So, I mean, it's like, I tried to send you the zip encrypted file and, it's blocking everything zip encrypted. So,
I would just be a very bad mail admin because I'd block everything. No attachments for anyone.
Oh.
Mail is not used for file transfers. That's what FTP is for.
Well, I'm doing you a favor. I'm zip encrypting it with a 6-character password. I'm including the password in the email because that's more secure.
That's how it works.
Right. Yeah. toteslegit.zip. And then, here's the password is 123456 or something. My favorite was always sending emails to customers, and they're like, we block all zip files. I'm like, okay, I'll put a .001 on the end of it, and it sends it through. They hate that.
Because it's not supposed to just look at the extension.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that stuff.
It's like, wait, this PDF's actually an exe. We should not let that through because, that's stupid.
And it was a specific vendor. I don't know if that was, it may or may not have been mentioned in the link from HelpNet Security, but I would always ask the customer, I'd be like, hey, what's your email scanning system? They're like, it's this. And I'm like, okay, here's .001, just rename it.
Oh, great.
And I'm like, I can get around that, no worries. And they're like, that's not good. I was like,
right.
Yeah, you get what you pay for,
Yeah.
So, So there's a link in the show notes also to the Wikipedia article on what the XML looks like for the XML Rails file. So I looked that up because I just wanted to see what it looked like. And it just tells you relationships. And there's a namespace, there's a relationship ID, and then it shows you the target, which would be, a picture in this case or something. So, yeah. Anyway, so, fish away.
Yay.
Let me see. So, sorry?
I give up now. No more blue teaming.
Why not?
Hard.
Why not? Come on,
it's too hard.
It's not too hard. You're actually writing workshops that talk about the attack matrix, right?
Yeah, I know, but it's difficult.
Yes, it is. Is it what's difficult about the attack matrix, or is it just difficult being a blue teamer?
It's just difficult being a blue teamer.
Oh, okay. Well, actually, I've talked to a friend of mine who's doing a lot of red teaming. He's been a gray hat, black hat hacker, and he's like, "Yeah, I need to find a new challenge." And I'm like, "Yeah, be a blue teamer."
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's your challenge, brah. Fight against the people like you, and do it with no budget and no people. So,
yep.
Try that out for size. So, anyway, so next article that we have, and we're going to discuss a concept here with this. It's from Security Boulevard, which is one that I read on. Good God, I read several articles from them on a daily basis. They have some good content over there. So a person named Savia Lobo. Don't know if it's a lady or a guy, so I'll just say person. They discovered a use after free vulnerability in Linux 2.6 all the way through 4.20.11. So that's pretty much the last, 15 years worth of kernel versions that have been missing. I don't know when 2.6 came out. Let me find out. Kernel 2.6. Kernel 2.6 came out. Oh, I'm sorry. It came out, looks like 2011.
Savia is a girl.
It's a lady person. Yes. Anyway, it looks like it's 2011-ish when version 2.6 came out. Before 2011 working group started. Yeah. So, So this is at least 7 years old worth of kernel releases. So it has a use after free bug. A Huawei engineer of all people found a vulnerability, and they did it using the kernel address sanitizer that detects dynamic memory errors within the Linux kernel. And what Kasan is, and I actually went and looked that up as well, it's like a diagnostic tool or something inside of Linux that you can use to find things like use after free bugs and out of bounds bugs. So you have to compile it into the kernel. There's a link in the show notes on exactly how to do that from kernel.org. And so it will allow you to check for any bad things, like use after free. So what is use after free? Ms. Berlin, do you know what a use after free bug is?
No. Something to do with memory.
Wow, that's good. That's real good. It's real good talking. Yeah. I put a link to the common weakness enumeration. You could have just read that and everyone been like, oh, man.
I was trying to figure out. So like on the NIST National Vulnerability Database, it lists for that CVE, it lists 2 different scores. Oh. And I was trying to figure out like why there's 2 of them. There's a 9.8 and there's a 7.5, and I'm not really sure.
Well, put the link in the Google Doc.
Yeah. I was trying to make an intelligent comment about that, but you caught me.
Well, no, let me look at that. It's okay. So NIST. Good. NIST is back up and running.
Because I also told you earlier, like I didn't know that CWEs were an actual thing.
Yeah. So the impact. So the CVSS of 9.8 is for the version 3. So there's a bit more complexity involved in the severities and the metrics.
Oh, okay, I see that.
And CVSS version 2 is what every vulnerability system, vulnerability management system out there, as far as I know, still uses. At least a year ago, all the big ones were still using CVSS 2. So in this case, 9.8 is critical for under CVS 3, the attack vectors over the network. Attack complexity is very low. No privileges are required to do so. No user interaction is required. The scope, which always confuses me, remains unchanged, and it affects confidentiality, integrity, and availability. Okay. So, yeah. So this is not a good thing. So, if you're not using
like crash programs and execute code by pointing to a different part of the memory.
Yep. Yep. Let me see. So they said, according to Hacker News, there's not a proof of concept exploit yet beyond a reproducer causing a case on splat, which if you go and look on the kernel.org site, it shows you an example of what an out of bounds access report looks like. I assume that any use after free bugs look very similar. So common weakness enumeration. So common weakness enumeration is like what people use, and it's a MITRE tool too. So it's the attack framework company, which actually the guy from Spectre Ops that we talked about, the OSX stuff, he used to work for MITRE. So that might be another reason to have him on as well to talk about MITRE. You two can compare notes.
Yeah.
So use of previously freed memory can have a number of adverse consequences, ranging from corruption of valid data to the execution of arbitrary code, depending on the instantiation and timing of the flaw. So they said the simplest way data corruption may occur involves systems reuse of the freed memory. Use after free errors have 2 common and overlapping issues, so error conditions and other exceptional circumstances, and confusion over which part of the program is responsible for freeing the memory. So the good thing about the weakness enumeration stuff is that they give you examples of C code that shows. So what happens is after you've freed it, some point in your code, it re-references that same buffer. And what they suggest you do is to nullify that or use a null bit in that part of memory that has just been freed up, so that you don't have to worry about that. And then there's other things like double free, where you actually free it up twice, and that can cause heap overflows, but that's another thing. Right. Yeah. So the reason this is so bad is that, and we mentioned that on the vulnerability earlier on the NVD, the NIST.org, everything is high. Confidentiality, integrity, and availability are all high because, let me see, where's that at again? Okay, here it is. So, integrity portion, the use of previously freed memory may corrupt valid data. So there's an integrity issue there if the memory area in question has been allocated and used elsewhere. So after you've freed it up, if some other program automatically starts using that, it can corrupt any valid data that's available. So you can modify memory. Availability can cause denial of service. You can crash. It will cause improper exits of programs. So if chunk consolidation occurs after the use of previously freed data, the process can crash when invalid data is used. And unauthorized, it can also execute unauthorized code. So, if malicious data is entered before the chunk consolidation can take place, it could be possible to take advantage of write what where primitives to execute arbitrary code. So these are the CWE, which Ms. Berlin is, finding out about.
Now I know about.
Well, there's a whole bunch of them. So like we were talking about CSRF the other day and cross-site scripting stuff. These are more written towards talking how developers might think or write. So again, with the language barrier Mr. Noyd talked about, security people, cross-site scripting, got to uncross-site script all the things or whatever. And, the equivalent of that would be to sanitize all your data inputs, and that would be something that it would be the idea that the developer would understand that more. The CWEs are more geared towards developers versus security people. So I know that when we write reports in my office, we tend to reference CWE stuff versus the OWASP stuff, because then sometimes you can find, like I said, there's code examples of how a use after free works in this link. And you can, see where you're freeing up the pointer, but you're not nullifying any of the original pointer memory area. So, it doesn't always fix it, but that's a good way to help mitigate some use after free bugs. So, so that's the bad thing. If you are using any kernel on any system that is not up through 4.20.11, you need to go in and poke around. So they said the use after free was found in the networking subsystem SOCFS code. And the guy from Huawei assumes that could lead to arbitrary code execution. So SOCFS is the socket file system, I think. SOCFS. Yeah, our 4 important file systems. File system can be mounted in the terminal. Debug FS, security FS, sock FS, RAM located pseudo file system for storing information about sockets and ports, as well as a compatibility layer. It's also called socket file system, right? So there you go. So socket writes data on sockfs, and the file system makes changes to the data to make it suitable for the sockets. So there you go. That would be why it would be bad, because if you're using sockets or using ports, you could technically write. It looks like you could probably write data to ports or sockets that are in the system, and that's why they can corrupt things, because every process runs on a socket or a port, and you could corrupt programs. So there you go.
So I added one other thing to the show notes.
What's that? Oh no!
Because I thought it was funny.
Oh.
I saw
gods.
The other day that there's now a Baby Shark malware.
What's Baby Shark?
What?
I'm sorry, I have a 13-year-old. I don't know what the Baby Shark is.
You've never heard this Baby Shark song?
No, I don't want to hear it either.
You want me to sing it?
No, I'm good. Why do you know Baby Shark? You don't have any children that are of that age either. It's
my niece is 2.
Oh, and I'm assuming it's on repeat or something.
Oh my god.
Well, so for everybody who's in their cars, you can
Baby Shark doo 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 doo, Baby Shark doo 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 doo, and it just keeps on going. And then you do like Mommy Shark. There's hand motions. It was very cute until it gets stuck in your head, and I'm sure I probably just put that in like half of the audience's head, which makes me super happy.
There's a collective.
I just got it on my head. Yeah. But if you've not listened to it, there's these 2 cute little Asian kids that sing the original one, and it's like a baby shark and a mama shark and a daddy shark and grandpa shark, and is this like something that the Wiggles would sing? Probably, yeah.
Okay, because
if the Wiggles were small and Asian,
right? Yeah. Every time I think of fruit salad, yummy.
Yeah,
yeah,
exactly.
Yeah. I dealt with the old I dealt with the old Wiggles when my kid was younger. So Jeff and Greg and all them. Not any of the new Wiggles. They're all crap. So
right.
Yeah. But yeah, it was funny, because I watched, you can pick up on some of these shows like Little Einsteins and stuff. And I realized that it's like, well, you only need to make 5 seasons of those shows. And then you could just keep
kids small enough that it doesn't matter. You can just replay the same episode over and over again.
You could just replay 5 seasons of shows, they're going to quit watching them after age 5, and then you can just.
I have the Little Einstein song memorized.
Oh yeah,
like it's
Pat,
burnt into my brain forever.
My daughter used to call it Pat Pat. I want to watch Pat Pat, Daddy. So just Pat Pat. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I'm a map. 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 Oh my god.
Or the male song from Blue's Clues.
Oh god. Oh god. It's so awful.
This is torture. Why are we?
Oh, I hate myself. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I hate myself. Oh my gods. All right. I think we probably should kill it for this week. If anybody has any questions about the Wiggles I'm sorry, not the Wiggles, use after free stuff or
could we make our outgoing music be Baby Shark for this episode?
Oh, you are awful. You are just so mean.
Everybody shuts it off now. They're like, no, never again.
Yeah, we won't do that. We definitely won't do that. What's going on before we go? What's going on with Hacker Health? You're going to be in Bsides Austin.
Yeah, so going to Bsides Austin next. I'm going to do that with Megan if she can get off work.
Yeah.
And then we're doing full village there with the talks and discussion groups and massage therapists and all that stuff.
Cool.
And then after that is
Layer 8.
Layer 8 and Bsides Santonia are at the same time.
Okay.
So they're both on June 8th.
Right.
So those are the next 2. And then we just did Leeds. And then I'm talking to 17 other conferences. You're
going to have time to actually do the show, right?
Yeah. Like Megan's all for going places. We're talking to 44Con, which is in London. And
all right.
Couple handful of others.
Okay.
That are really super interested. I just turned in the 501c3 paperwork to the lawyer the other day. Super happy that's done.
You had to send it to a lawyer?
Yeah, I hired a nonprofit lawyer to help us with everything.
Really? That can't have been cheap.
No, we're up to $3,000 already.
Oh God.
So anybody that's listening that would like to sponsor, we're almost out of money. So if you want to see it at your conference with massages and stuff, we need some sponsors.
Need some fat bank. Yeah.
Yep.
Make it rain, people.
I wish I was independently wealthy and could fund all of this myself, but cannot.
Damn.
Yeah, but it's been great so far. I've had so much help, and we have awesome Patreon people just helping out like crazy. We have a t-shirt thing that if you check the Twitter, we have t-shirts out right now.
I saw that. Yeah. You're doing stickers as well, right?
Yeah, we have stickers. Cool. I got water bottles for our those metal canteen water botters for our top Patreon people.
Yeah.
Yep. Whole bunch of stuff.
Very nice. Okay.
I think we're going to do, I haven't confirmed it yet, but we want to do a food drive, canned food drive and clothing drives locally at the conferences that we do too.
Okay.
And collect those and take those to local shelters.
Oh, that's nice.
So yeah, we just have really good ideas just rolling in.
That's cool. Yeah, that sounds like you guys are doing a lot of good for the area. So I know that in Austin they have that would definitely be a positive thing for them. So
yep.
All right. Well, if anybody was interested, how would they find out about that? Do you need volunteers?
Oh yeah, volunteers too. So you can email volunteer@mentalhealthhackers.org. You can DM us on Twitter at Hackers Health. You can DM me. on Twitter at InfoSister. And everything else is on our mentalhealthhackers.org website.
Nice. Okay. All right. Well, we got your Twitter out of the way, so that was good at InfoSister. Mr. Betcher and Mr. Goff, they do the Breaking Down Incident Response show, which I did get a verbal, well, not a verbal, but I have something in our Slack that Michael Goff said he is finishing up the editing and will hopefully have that to me tomorrow on the 25th or later tonight on the 24th. So we'll see if that's up. Very good if you're interested in hearing about incident response topics. It's a specific thing, not like all over the place like kind of we are with our baby sharks and our wiggles and stuff and our use after free things. So if you're interested in checking that out, there's a link on malwarearchaeology.com. To gain access to that podcast. They've got 8 episodes out. They do one a month, and it's usually about 2 hours. So you can, take it in 30-minute chunks every week, or, binge it like you do Netflix or whatever. So, Mr. Betcher is also the lead developer, CTO, God knows what else, of LogMD, which is is an application you can use to ensure that your Windows boxes are logging properly. Actually engaged that for a customer this couple weeks ago. We actually downloaded it and ran it and seen what came up, and found that they weren't necessarily doing the needful with regards to logging. So we got a few extra bugs out of that. So that was cool.
Right.
Yeah. So log-md.com is the site where you can go to get a free copy of that. They also have a paid copy that does more cool stuff if you're interested in doing that. So Brakesec podcast, we're doing a lot of stuff here. We have a Slack, we have a Patreon. Thank you to our patrons who help us out. The little tip jar money every month goes to editing and hosting and taking care of the Zoom that we have that we're using right now, and helps defray some of the cost of actually being a worldwide podcast that everybody enjoys. So if you're interested in doing that, there's a link in the show notes to donate to the Patreon or to PayPal if you don't like Patreon. A lot of people don't. You can also find us at breakingsecurity.com, BRAKEING security.com. And we're on Twitter at Brakesec, BRAKE-SEC. You can find me, Bryan Brake, BRYAN, BRAKE on Twitter. If you want to join our Slack, you can email us at bds.podcast@gmail.com or send us a DM to Brakesec Twitter, and we'll try to get you online. It kind of backed up there while I was on vacation because apparently nobody was watching the private messages, but people get busy, and we have a lot of people. Sometimes it comes like 10 at a time, sometimes it comes 1 or 2 at a time, so we try to get them as we can. So
yeah.
Is there anything I missed? We have a store where you can get t-shirts. I need to probably put some more t-shirts up there, give people some ideas. We get a kickback from those if you decide you want to buy a t-shirt. They're not limited edition, so you can buy them as you like. And let me see. Our Slack book club is going well. Peter Kim's Hacker Playbook 3rd edition is going on with David Sybuck. He's one of our moderators as well. Scott Pack and Megan is also one of our other moderators. They do a lot of good work for us, so we appreciate them. All right, well, that's it for the week, unless Ms. Berlin has anything left to say.
Hopefully my house survives the storm.
Well, if you wake up on a yellow brick road, make sure you take that nice lady's shoes that you've fallen the house on. So
I feel like I would be the lady with the shoes.
Oh, well, if you're gonna die, have nice looking shoes on. So
right.
Yeah. All right. Well, this is it from the world headquarters here in Seattle, Washington. Breaking Down Security's done this week. Have a great week. Please take care of yourselves because you're the only you have. Please be nice to one another, and we'll talk to you again soon.
See you later.
Baby shark, do 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 do, baby shark, do 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 do, baby shark. do do